Welcome back to another video, guys. This is the Fluffy Fish here, and we're back with another simming video. And in this one, we have a what if scenario with Myles Garrett. This past off season, Myles Garrett was requesting a trade because he's tired of losing. Sim forward, he ended up getting a record-breaking contract for the time and stayed a Cleveland Brown. And now in real life, he is one sack away from breaking the all-time sack record, while the Browns are more than on their way to another losing season. So let's hop into Madden and see if a potential trade that he was looking for, if that happened, would things end up different? Would he still be able to get that sack record, but also win? I ended up sending him over to the Dallas Cowboys in a trade for Micah Parsons to the Browns, and the Cowboys end up getting Myles Garrett, hometown guy, went to Texas A&M for college. Almost a dream come true for Myles Garrett. And can he help the Dallas Cowboys win a Super Bowl before he ends up retiring? He is 29 years old, so still probably has a few seasons left. We're going to go ahead and see if he can bring one home for the Dallas Cowboys. I'll catch you guys at the end of the season. We'll check out his stats, and we'll go year by year with this one. Alrighty, and Myles Garrett ends up finishing 5th for Defensive Player of the Year award for the NFC. And if we go ahead and take a look at the playoff bracket, it looks like the Cowboys did not even make the playoffs. The bigger story here is the Cowboys went 8-9, finishing 3rd in their division behind the Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. And when we go ahead and take a look at Myles Garrett's stats, you can see here a little bit more of the story. Myles Garrett did have a solid season. He had 14 sacks, 14 tackles for loss, decent amount of tackles as well. But he just did not have a good enough season to take the Dallas Cowboys to even a playoff appearance. So they did finish 8-9 in this first year, but that's still better than he's done for the Cleveland Browns record-wise. So let's go ahead and sim another year, see if he can get a Super Bowl, at least bring the Cowboys to the playoffs. And as you guys can see here, Myles Garrett once again finishing number 5 in the Defensive Player of the Year voting for the 2026 NFC Awards. And once again, oh no, they did end up making the playoffs. They were a wild card team at the second ranked team because the Packers were the number 1 ranked team. They play against the Giants and lose in the wild card. The Giants end up going against the Packers, beating the Packers, and then beating the Eagles and going to the Super Bowl, which they're playing against the Chargers now. But wild card appearance for the Giants ended up going all the way to the Super Bowl. Now, we did have the tiebreaker making us second, right, in winning the division, but all 3 of those teams that made the playoffs there, same exact record. But we did get knocked out in the wild card. That's the classic Dallas Cowboys tale right there. Let's take a look at Myles Garrett's stats for the 2026 season. I can see it already, 16.5 sacks. So another great season for Myles Garrett. Nothing like he's having in real life right now, and it was not enough to take him too far into the playoffs. But that, I believe, was Myles Garrett's second playoff appearance. Baker Mayfield led them to a playoff appearance a few years back, but it's been a while since they've had a winning season, right? And 11-6 is, I think, by far his best record as a pro. He probably only has a couple years left until he's going to retire, so he's still doing great sack production wise, but he is going to need to go a little bit further in the playoffs to really cement himself as one of the greats. Let's see if he can do it. And Myles Garrett had a down year, ended up finishing 9th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. for the 2027 annual awards for the NFC. Green Bay Packers versus Ravens Super Bowl. So we know the Cowboys didn't make it. And they didn't even make it to the playoffs this year. Ended up finishing 9-8, tying the Eagles and close to the Commanders as well. But Giants are killing it in this version of the events. So you can see there, sacks. He was not in the top 3. Brian Burns with a great year, 21 sacks. Let's take a look at Garrett and what he did. So he had 16.5 last year, right? So great year. I can see it at the bottom there. He just had a little bit of a down year, 14.5 sacks, still solid year, but he's just not having that same production he's had in real life and like he has in some of the years past, getting 20. And it's seeming like it's trending towards him not being able to bring the Cowboys another Super Bowl. And hasn't gotten past a wild card. They made the playoffs in one of the 3 seasons for the Dallas Cowboys. He's having better seasons, getting closer to the playoffs than he has with the Browns in his career. So I'm curious if this is the kind of success, like being in it, that he's wanting, and if he'd be happier doing this than chasing the NFL all-time record like he is in real life. We are going to keep doing this until he ends up retiring and then looking back on his career for just a quick second before we end this. But what do you guys think? Comment down below right now. Don't skip ahead. Don't wait. Do you think Myles Garrett is going to win either another Defensive Player of the Year or have a playoff win? Let me know. This year, the 2028 season, I'm starting off this one with the playoff bracket. As you can see, we did beat the Seahawks in the wild card round, but ended up losing to the Lions 3-7 in the divisional, who ended up losing to the Buccaneers. It's actually a Buccaneers-Jets Super Bowl. But if you look on the other side, the Browns beat the Dolphins in the wild card, beat the Broncos in the divisional, and ended up just barely losing to the Jets in the AFC Championship. If I told you that in 2028, the Jets would be playing against the Cleveland Browns in the AFC Championship in real life, you would bet all of your life savings that that's not going to happen, right? But in this one, it happened. And it might look like Myles Garrett made the wrong choice in this sim going to the Dallas Cowboys. 12-5 season, so big season for Myles Garrett, I would imagine, and the boys, but did not end up, 5th again. He hasn't been able to top 5th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. He just hasn't been able to do it. Fallen short of Defensive Player of the Year every single season that we've simmed. He is in the latter half of his career at this point, but still putting up sacks, right? 15 sacks, got some creative player rookie with 13 at defensive tackle, 10 for Donovan as well. So great defense, right? I mean, we hold the Detroit Lions at 7 points. Our offense just only scored 3 in the divisional. Not really on Myles Garrett and the team there, but overall, I'd say so far, Myles Garrett might enjoy this more than being on the Cleveland Browns and never having another winning season in his career. There's a chance that this has extended his career a couple years as well, just having more fun doing it, not just chasing records and things like that, but actually chasing wins and Super Bowls. He's at least getting a chance, right? Now, like that doesn't mean that, the Browns find a quarterback and things turn around for them or don't turn around for them or anything like that in real life by this point. It definitely could happen, and him sticking with the Browns could end up working out, but it just doesn't seem like a high likelihood at this point, right? With what we've seen in real life and just how things are run there. Like Shador, I'm sure they'll end up getting rid of him for one reason or the other. And then they'll be right back in the dumps, right? Maybe they start Deshaun Watson next year. Who knows, right? But in this, Myles Garrett hasn't peaked above 5th in Defense Player of the Year for his conference, right? I think his best year was 16.5 sacks, and they made it to the divisional. So he got a playoff win. I think that might be his first, or no, maybe second playoff win in his career at, I think, 32, 33 years old now. So we're going to end up simming another year here until his retirement. I'll meet you at the end of the 2029 season, where hopefully we'll be looking at a Super Bowl. We can hop on in, simulate it, and see if Myles Garrett will finally go and win the big one. Myles Garrett with his worst year in a while. Not even in the top 10 for Defensive Player of the Year voting for the NFC. Dallas Cowboys ended up going 8-9, not making the playoffs. And you got to wonder, at his age now, is he going to be considering retirement here? Let's find out. He's starting to regress. That's obvious. His numbers are starting to get worse. The team really doesn't seem too close to winning a Super Bowl, but things can change so quick. You never know. Let's see if he still has it in him to keep playing, or is Myles Garrett going to hang up the cleats? And Myles Garrett, after 13 years, decides to retire. Let's take a look at what that means for Myles Garrett and his career, where he ends up. I imagine he's going to be towards the top still of legacy for right ends. As you see there, TJ Watt never won a Super Bowl either. 8 yearly awards for Myles Garrett. No Super Bowl. No even AFC Championship. Never even seen a Super Bowl. Doesn't know what it looks like. And you got to think that's a rough career. Rough for Myles Garrett. Not what he wanted. He wanted to eventually get to the point where he was in the record books with a Super Bowl win, and he just didn't quite get to that point. If you look at sacks, he did not eclipse Smith with 200. I'd be curious to know how much he had. So let me get back and I'll let you guys know. So I ran the numbers, and it looks like Myles Garrett had a total of 173 sacks in his career, with a career or season high of 16.5 that we saw in 2026. Never eclipsed that point in his career in this version of it. Obviously, in real life, he's at 21.5, I believe now. So or 22, I believe even. So he's just one shy of that record. But in this version, going to the Cowboys before this year instead of the Browns, wins one additional playoff game in his career, a couple appearances, and worse individual stats. Doesn't win another Defensive Player of the Year in the 5 years he had, or 4 years he had. And I think in this version, I'm not sure if he made the right choice. Right. I think in real life, he might have actually made the right choice, sticking with the Browns. Yes. Are they losing this year? Yes. But he's about to break a record, keeping him in the limelight for probably a long time. And there's a good chance that the Browns can turn it around and do better than he did for the Dallas Cowboys here in the next 4 years. But it is the Browns, right? So you never know. Poverty franchise. And yeah. That's gonna do it for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, like the video, subscribe for more of this type of content. Comment down below another person you want to see me simulate their career, and what storyline you think would be kind of interesting to explore. Until next time, peace.